Gangi Jesan Dawe Mengon Gazaran Zombedang Sembe Seo Sendro Savan Rokum Mege Duseyo Tuje Nama Gunege Jide Sumye Kwan Gyaba Tuan Bema Garbe Jabe Dalu Yezoyo Dedu Luriya Jonda Marmeze Maung Jamba Dada Jaya Gidane Yami Renjembe Jiden Sumgun Jablan Gujaze Mi Juge Yenge Bodana De Sum Sange Gunge Ngoni Rase Jugu Ngosu Dan Zaba Save Lame Jablan Gujaze Namol Haye Gena Ludan Nujinge Jabun Dada Meye Rawa Gunje Dage Jizamba Tamche Gado Dage Judando Tene Nangba Nyambe Simchen Tamche Namjen Zogbe Sanki Yukombaran Buji Jine Gyang Tobar Cha Nyambe Tugi Ngundu Song Ne Tari Kapsu Baba Sanki Jumdende Ki Song Chima Meba Tene Choki Siksu Jaba Di Gol Ma Jikhyua Yimbe In
order to listen to the teaching, first of all, we have to cultivate bodhicitta mind. That is to establish all the sentient beings in the state of Buddhahood. Then I'm going to teach on the Dhammapada, which is the pure teaching of the Buddha.
Jirdini Chuisus Japanese Sangegi Tasung Mambuchi, Dinalon, Sungi Ningbu, Tabo. And you, the Sangi Sung, that you must have the Kamabaji. Chariot.
Generally, there are many teachings of the Buddha, but when we talk about the Dhammapada, this is one of the essence teaching of the Buddha. So when we listen to this teaching, practice on this teaching, it is equal to listen to the teaching of the Buddha from himself.
Then the church is Japanese Sangegi, Gu Sung Toki Chingilabde. And the Toki number 2, around Samalo, then the Chiniki Mezidi turned down Dewada Demba.
Generally, there are many blessings of the Buddha, like the blessing of the body, speech, and mind. And these, to listen to the teaching of the Buddha, it is the blessing of his speech, and it would be so beneficial to benefit all for the all sentient beings by listening to this teaching. Not for oneself, but for the benefit of others as well.
Chugi Chus Jabandi, Hajangi, the name Cap Chambuchik, and Zambundina Gay Manguji Guru. And the Jog and Allah to wrap the Chidon Gagan Nandavane, then the Gagapche, Chungje, or the Rendo, then the Tadangaranzu Gindi, Huyadi, Tene, Chidon. Kuja Shibju Tabanala, then Pergi Kawan, a Gindu Chimbushunye, then Mahabudi, then Reshu, then Thailand, Sri Lanka, to Alpene, Digabla, then Gurnamasido.
The text or the teaching of Dhammapada is very popular across the world, and it has been translated in many languages. And in the West, it was translated in year 1800, that's 1800. And in Tibet, it was translated by the great scholar Jangchubling in 1940 when he was toured to Sri Lanka. During the tour of Sri Lanka.
And Chidan choices Jabandi, Quadabo, and Chidangi Rabjung Batan, kimba nigegi nidi nyeri mezige da nalo la sangegi kadene kalop sangbolana mewachi indu
So the teaching of the Dhammapada is very easy to understand as well as easy to practice by both layperson and ordained monks. The teaching is especially based on how to lead one's day-to-day life. So therefore, this is something very practical teaching that we need to be understood.
The church is also Japan, Sange, Pepjan, Sakabain, Gabdi Dugi, Rabjung Pomo, Kendechi, the Tuba Gabe, Nangzun Dam Mandala, and then Sange Gada, the young Mata was Samalo, Lamdera Nani, Sije Gabdu, Sung Shangyo, Sik do, the Lama Samalo, sent to Gabche. The Nirin are so to be Hajan Kobo, Dabde, and Ding Aranzo, Dabde was the Jidang Aranzo, Gachem, the Nelson Joja, then Aranzo, Kagyu, Dangur, that Chesham Natria, Gachem with the Zam, Chuki Pumbudaboya, Mayimba, and Aranzo, Yashun, Cabo Chamber, Nalo, Kakshap, Monsum Lasso, Rebation looked up at Gachem, Gonyo, Tendaya, Mayimba, and Yirin Aranzo Saranangi, Rangi Lunga Yesum. Sange combination Magiawa and Jesus Sange Shabi Jesus Tinedrayagi Nyamlanda Wuchi Chatayas.
Buddha taught this teaching on different places to different people, whether it be lay people or ordained beings. He taught in different verses, in short stanzas, which is very understandable by any types of people, any kind of people that has got many different types of mental dispositions. So this teaching is not like the teaching of the Kagyu and Tangyur, which is very extensive, which is Buddha taught elaborately. So it is also not like the classical texts of the Tripitaka, which is also explained the things and events extensively. This teaching is something different than both of them, which is taught to the people who have different types of mental dispositions accordingly. And therefore, this is something different that can be put into practice easily by any types of people.
Kashani and the YouTube then and Luce, Model do the more than get and Luce Yamba, or the day the desk says it and Shida Captain Buji, and Dinalia Sangi Sung Samaji, Mandibu never double, the Kachambuchi, the Camdu do the day in Zan and yet the Radani Losum Neche, Mimalaya, the Mangi Kagyu Tela, and so Sanjay Nang Sung the Chi and mix a compassus Naloria, but as Drikung the mix the Chewa and the mother Mang Chepena and the day Dang also nearly the Mimang Kagyu Dang and the Nyayula Kwanda Lodarishi, Shamangachi, your dinner, and then Dhammapada Sus Cheva the Sheshe use.
This teaching is not only popular because of it contains in the texts, but also in West it has been giving teachings through YouTubes, through many types of social medias and so forth. Therefore, it's become so popular in the West. This teaching is, of course, very essence of the teaching of the Buddha that he taught extensively. And in this text, the essence of the teaching is included without leaving any kind of the meaning behind. So therefore, it is so popular. For last 3 years, I've been giving this teaching in public. During the great cultural assembly, Buddhist cultural assembly in Shiravasti, I gave these teachings in the evening sessions. So generally, I choose these teachings to give in public when the teaching is not only for the ordained monks, which is particularly given in the temples and different lineages.
Sanjay Nyayu Rana Sumba di get su Drukne Tabdina Shegi. The Indishandan goes Nyayu Masumba di Ledig Yorba, Dida Yang Nyayu Sumba got at the Sunding des Jenini Yungudu Tene Red to Shewa, Tadim Pejidina Kasha Yoma Rikna, the ring Nyayu Mashebe, the get the Mashegi, they are Dina Mashegi, you gonna march. This issue.
So here in this small text book, the stanzas of the teaching are selected. Only selected stanzas of the teaching which Buddha taught in Shiravasti. So today, what I'm going to give you the teaching is some of may not available in the texts because I've been in my previous teachings focusing on giving only the teachings that was given in Shiravasti. When I think of this, then the teaching that is not given in Shiravasti is living. So therefore, I decided to focus on the teachings that was also focus on the teachings that did not give Shiravasti. In this text, you may not find those stanzas that I'm going to give today. And then some are available. And the first chapter of this text is the stanzas are pairs. There are 20 number of stanzas, 10 in pairs. So some of them are available in the text and some of them may not be available.
Then Tomang also the Dhammapadas music jiorwa. The music the Drikung told this Shuna Samsung. And Jinan the music the Dhammapadas in the Pali Sigrava. Dharma singing as a church, Pada singing Shabjila Dudu. Correction, then the young star and the Sri Lanka, Yube, then the Himalaya, Gizella, Jangchubling, Shabji Yorwa, tell a Shiripata, Sidua young star. Dinner Shiripatas, the Shabjil do your. The Indu that turned through and also Sangi, Shabji, Jason down. Coordination Gemna, take you said it.
Before I begin the actual teaching, I would like to give the meaning of Dhammapada. Dharma means teaching, and teaching, and pada means a footprint. There's a mountain in Sri Lanka which is called Shiripata, where there's a footprint of Buddha. It's in this context, Dhammapada can be understood something that we are following on the footprint of the Buddha. There's the brief meaning of Dhammapada.
Then, choose near city. Then, they capture which use of it. And Gama the Dharma singing the Chugnala, choosing the Gurdama, Gurgutola, Zoba Magushi was used of it. Chisuyan, Tadatane, that's a budding Kava Magushi, and the Kagyu engineer Gurguyorva, Guduyan, and the Taktas Guya told Zoba Magushi, Kachamumedo, Dharma Koranga Shanamato, Shayomare, originally the Dharma Mataji. In a paying another, choose Gusha Yorva. Then I see Gagag another fast is curious. Dharma Shayom fasting is curious. So the need to le, yes, Tandashi Shunasams.
Generally, the term Dharma it has many meanings in different languages. In Sanskrit, it is called Dharma, which has number of meanings in itself. When the translation was done, there were many kind of disagreements between the scholars because of having too many meanings of the term. So it has been translated into Tibetan as Che, which means to be called teaching, and in Chinese it is translated as Ba, which is also to be understood as teaching. And then because of the many meanings of the term, there has been many disagreements too when the translation of the Kagyu into English, and then the scholars and the great scholars finally agreed to keep the term as Dharma.
Nang yung azu pache, then choose near social Nandukala, and then Chuni Shisha Lambda and Yang you Surab Sada Jungun get to Churu Lao, says to Jew toilet, Mancha Nagadua, choose Suya. In a Tana Yashiati, Chana choose a choose and Druti in Java. Near the Sikorek to Jizda was Shabina. And Tada Mazu. Chinese Landla did show correct Nangdun Derva, Nangdo Kariovati. Nangdo gets it, and that Mingsi, Druti, Church, sing a correct toilet, Shikana, the Church sing it, singing the church chas, the Musungurva, singing the church chas. Soon as Namja Park, Church Tamja Loki, singing the Yechigla and churches. That's what did on that toilet, the Shikawa.
As I said, that there are many meanings of the term Shu. In the classical texts, it has stated that Shu has 10 types of meanings. There is that can be found in the classical texts. However, what I'm going to give you the meaning of the Shu, the teaching here is the specific meaning of the term Chu, word by word. So here, the Chu, the terminology of Chu can be defined or explained as to hold something. It is said that which means the characteristic, something to behold. Something to behold, that is something to be held. That is the meaning of Chu or Dharma in Tibetan.
The end Chu singing the singing me and a catch the carrier, Sai in a Tagba dancing, Chu in a Sherva dancing, Lung in a Yoa dancing, May in a Sawa dancing double. Then I think the name Ranzo and a cover of the Wina and the Dachila Tabakogi, Kaju de Yorva. Shumatabu yena then seven ranking for the casual. Taganashi get in Nujeshi, not the Nagi, when a chala sobati, Sovana, so legare casual yorba, the Dejig Tola. That the Indu Sune Namjang Pardo, Trube, and the Kunzu Samalo, casually yorba, casually yorba, church, Kushadwa. That the Gagan Nana, fast to Castle, Timmy. That could soon and Namja Bagachus Hamalo, quite Tim Davajo, and then they casual Davaji, Tim Davaji, the Gagan, Tim Siguriadoda, fast Javaka, Tim Siguri. Zambulin Collegata, Church Hamakunzu, which was Hamaki Tim Davo in dispute.
So when we think about the things or the material, the conventional materials, and each of them has their own characteristic or nature. For example, the earth has the characteristic of solid. For example, the water has the nature of moisture, and the fire has the nature of heat, and the wind has the nature of moving or movement. And also, when you think about lights or the lamps, it has the nature of lighting up. And when we think about a thing that is a container, it has the characteristic of holding something that is in. So therefore, when we think about the nature of the conventional things, and then each and every one of them has got the ability to play a role. So in this case, it can be understood them as Chö or Dharma, and it is can be explained all the things that is from the form to until the wisdom of the Buddha. And when we think about the translation of Shu into Chinese, it is called Ba, which means kind of rule. It had been translated as rule in Chinese, the Dharma.
Then it chose near the death sheet, Tandaka Tone, signature the Tandaka death sheet Tone, Shubina, and that's a bullying the Nalo, Ngovo Digi, Chusam, Yana Casual Dabundi, and the condition as Anna, Dancing Jinjung Madobe. Chonga Yuba Mayino, Tishin Dongi Madobe, Chonga Yuba Mayon, Sumana Shingi, Aranzugi, Miki Toya Yuba, Labe Tuya Yube, Gunzu Gungo, the Samalo, and a Jigla Jigne, Chin Javayins, Yuda, you get dented then Tubachele, the Gunzu Church, and the Dashing Cheba, Walla Mashim Chebakala, Mo de la Tajekala, and then Ranking Matuba, and the Dominic Ranking Yimati, the Kaju or the Chodavis, or the Tayang, the source of my Yimba, and the Soya Dombani, Suyin, Sulisha, Dombashama, Dombani, Sushama, yes, and Sumanashi. That did turn out the church, yes.
As I explained the meaning of Dharma, and the things that whatever we can see or touch, all they have their own characteristics, they have their own identity, and that's why it has to be understood as Dharma. And it is said that whatever we come to see, whatever we come to touch, all they are interconnected or dependent arising. And there is not something that cannot be understood in terms of the dependent arising, or there is not any dependent arising that is not can be seen or can be apprehended. So therefore it is called Dharma. Dharma can be understood in terms of this conventional way of understanding. For example, when we see something or when we touch something, that can be understood as Dharma in a conventional way of understanding. And in contrast, when we try to understand them in terms of the reality, then we cannot really find the reality of the things and events, and that is the way of explaining Dharma in the actual way of understanding. And it is said that the form is emptiness, emptiness is form. When we explain the meaning of Dharma in this way, there is the explanation of the state of actual understanding. So therefore, those things are not can be understood as separate and as well as one. So therefore, this is the way of explanation in the way of in the state of reality. So the things can be understood in terms of conventional way and the reality in the actual way.
Chöki susu cheba di gyagar nalo la ngar tene pali yigi nanda, ani gandare yigi nanda, ani patna yigi nanda, lekjar yigi ke shina le yosare, dina le ketu kashe ndamanda de yosare. Nanda di zo tene pali gi shung, nanda kindu chimbe gyuya de tene nanda langa Sri Lanka gi nalo yongs takbe. Tene Bali shungne sugyu nama dela enje dan sikje sibya nishu zaksum dan ane liu nishu zaruk cheba di rendo.
This text, the Dhammapada text, was translated in many languages like Pali, Sanskrit, Gandhara language, and so forth. The Tibetan version of this text was translated into Tibetan based on Pali by the great scholar Jangchubling in Sri Lanka.
Tene siksu cheban dile yang lingshi tabgyu tadige sangye sungbe kabla dikap ki ene gyamjon rabo kindeji kala sungyo le. Drum rabo lingshi ki dungdam dinte kyondambe sumgya jumi sumyo to. Teta su tene Pali nana su tene gyagar ki lobe sangye yang shunye di su tene su chokdu na yosare di ene chi su gelon dharma rakin da shunye di hindu na ma hindi geik na ningdu su ko ne ene di tanda Varanasi tene tholop kangi bumramba wangju negi kongi puyig na su gyuje buddhijik tanda ya dina yebedere di tene 제단 tene lugyu di na pasung de marjina sik di koya osne to yusa mare ko lugyu ke gamjo de kende ji wal di sung bare di lugyu di yudu de tene ko di yago tan do ro shin kyap chen bu ji di kende ji de su gu yuna ha gu yo marwa 제단 di sung di gu gu yusa di de di na lo sung de je je tene ma shu yu.
And this text has 26 chapters, and each chapter has got the stories, the story of the stanza associated to the stanzas that occurred during the time of Buddha. There are 310 numbers of stories related to these different stanzas, which later collected by the Indian scholar Sangye Yang, and later it was translated into Hindi by Dharmarakshita, and then recently it has been translated into Hindi and collected by Professor Jangchubling of the Central Tibetan University of Sarnath, Varanasi. The story is required to understand because without story the meaning of the teaching cannot be understood properly. So therefore, the stories has to be understood, which is occurred during the time of Buddha himself.
지난지 당보디 나키나주 대비여바디 당보디 나롤 네 노안 당보디 나란디리 최남 이기랑 신대 이는 조신 원런도 게데 두베 이기님 마섬야나 체계로 텔라이 텔라테이 중에도 신의 지순자와 신스 다들 거기나마 송댕이 데스 차차차지 니 요구도와 저기 개데 둑베선기 셈 메게와치는 딘제부 근데 요구래서지 이 녀유를 휴사래 다다다 디나라 아니 딘 독조라 이 둑베 셈이 타저는 개니 이네 당번나 셈 상부지요나 사디지고 신토다 지고래 녀유를 휴하다 셈 둑부지요나 아니 근데 요구래 이걸 숨어봐 디루규디제바 다다대야 셈 상부지키나 근데 요구래서 디기 측들이 신직바래 이 다다 셈 상부지키야 되고 네 주의다 니 송들이지 대스 주의.
In the first chapter, there are 20 stanzas and 10 pairs, which are expressed in different ways, the negative and positive. For example, the first stanza, it reads, all phenomena are mind-made. Mind is the chief and forerunner of the states. If one speaks or does an action with a weak mind, miseries shall follow him, as wheels follow the hoops of the bull. In this stanza, it explains the mind, how it actually works and brings the different kind of experiences. For example, in this text, this stanza, it says that if your mind is used in a negative kind of forces, and then it brings, of course, the sufferings and all these things, miseries and all these things. This is the meaning of this stanza. In the opposite, in the contrast, if your mind is used for positive thinking and all the noble thoughts, and then it brings positive experiences. There is the meaning of the contrast stanza of it. Actually, each stanza has their positive expression and negative explanation. So therefore, if you understand the negative expression of the explanation of the stanza, and then the positive can be understood easily. So therefore, there are pair different way of expressing the meaning of the shloka or stanza.
제상 당부디 캡처부 시부지 제당 알아서 좀 유상에 좀 된데 최고 dom으로 보지 그 서로다디 상계 좀 된데 추분 계디시 등 닝부다 보더라 송고도 하더니 딕바치에 매제시 개와 고송 서바지 랑거스는 요소 디네 상계 담바이 상계 담바 거 디인 소고요 봐 어전 디기 조디라 샘상고체 샘상고 쟤는 나라서 남 기셔의 삼바게다 마기시다를 기대수신 시중 제면으로서 삼바 상고는 디슈고라 아니 류가게 게 참말로 상고요야 안티에 대부 야고요야 삼바 냠바스잖아 And Digi Rangi Lunga is Samba Yamba Nagi Yamba, Sing Yamba, and Lega in Yamba says, Dear Dewi Yang Yamba Yuyorba. That the any soon Dina, Tom did it. Any sugar Dina, what the Messom Yana check and tell you the auto. Jiba, you are me, Chima, you are me, you see. Nime Chimana Shiji. Do Jajin about what can that the Tugin up the Gable Droguna? Long Joes at the Yeshi Jimendo, Gibot and the Kadna Kandoya, lend it to much to Jason dance, the Jajin over the Yimbi Pidgey, and then in a 6 wood day, Chima Yuvan Mingushin, Suyati, Lek Arnagi, Jesu, Yugudes, Twiggy, Gaboti, Alewati Shasham.
So the first stanza is very popular and can be understood quite easily because there is understandable by everyone, and this first stanza is related to or associated to the famous quote of the Buddha, which is do not commit any negative deeds, but fully practice the noble acts. When you able to train your mind, that is the teaching of the Buddha. This is the very famous and popular quote, which is which is associated to the stanza of the text, the first stanza of the text. Therefore, it is emphasized on the mind that that follows on different types of the forces, the negative and positive forces. If our mind is able to train and to have a positive vibe, then the result will be experience happiness and joy. In the contrast, if our mind is untrained and if we let it to be done anything it wants, then the result will be unhappiness and all the miserable things. Therefore, the understanding of how our work is, how our mind function is very important. Therefore, it is also said that whatever we do, whatever we think, the action follows. Therefore, the mind is the one which rules the other two doors, the speech and the body. So therefore, if your mind is trained, then the speech and the body is trained. So therefore, all depend on the mind. So therefore, mind is the one which is rule the other two doors. Therefore, it is important to train the mind. And it is also said that in a sutra that when there is a quotation, when the king is due to the time has to pass away or depart of this world, then all the negative deeds has to be followed after him. So therefore, be focused on the action of your body, speech, and mind, and also of the thought of your mind. So here, essentially, what basically the teaching is saying is that the mind is the forerunner which has to be trained, and the action and the other actions of the other secondary things are flowing after the mind. So therefore, it has to be focused on the mind. And the second stanza, which reads, "Mind is the forerunner of all good states. Mind is chief. Mind met are there. If one speaks or acts with pure mind, because of that, happiness flows one, even as one's shadow that never lives." So this is the second stanza which is related to the first stanza. It's not much different, just the expression of the positive thing, what one should do. So this is the brief understanding of the first stanza and second stanza. The quotes that I said is from the sutra, which is instructed to the king.
기부대 가르나 아니 다 개부디 통계대 가와가반도네 레드 티마시도 지었습니다. 아나나 디나를 티마이와 미유로 선보다 찍어라더니 레드 배네 니메 팁스 나신기 소스 가나 가르체비는 디기 팁스 나신 냐보 연구요아데 어디인지 아니 기들랑도 사바체고 이소도
In the sutra called instruction to the king, it quotes due to the time if the king has to depart someday, the wealth and the relatives and the servants do not flow after you. What things flow after you is the deeds, whether it would be positive or negative. So therefore, be emphasized on the actions, whatever you indulge in. So therefore, that because of the action, because of the thought, and these are to be emphasized because has to be cherished, has to be really undertaken because of the time one has to be departed, and then the relatives will not be flowed after you. Only the things that will flow is the negative karma or positive karma. So therefore, this is to be thought of seriously.
그래서 기대 랑도 sab고야 김생 가이나 네 삼로스당 거래 대양 상계 준데 되게 디버지양 메자신 송고야 김생 가이스는 디버디 제발 때는 디 제부디 천딜라야 되네지 나차 망보 람만도와 총이나 람만도와 되네 나리네 카자나래 요야 상마 김선 상물로 규매가 말이 규디 가라서 상나마 되네 메기웰레 사베데 텔라데네 상교 좀 되게 디버지야 메샤신 소
So the popular quote of the Buddha, do not commit any misdeeds. This is to be understood in a way that when you committed mistakes or error or negative deeds, then it gives the result of sufferings such as illnesses and so forth. Without cause and condition, nothing can be happen. Therefore, all the results and the events are followed by the negative actions and negative thoughts.
天南星이들이 개와 부숨 서버 제 중요한 김선 가였으나 개wen 제부디 대화 세메시베 들기요 바이메 마란수기 다리기 메즈디나 파수데나 통바 김선나 제 카시 레가 람도와 총양 람도와 나기 부부를 강가로지 강가로 럽죠 지서제도네 람도와 야보 요야디 아니 디 유조지 요를 생각만 아니 개와 망부지 사베기 제부디리 어디 인디응 알아서 아니 지 천딜라 디기 무슨 사고지 연구에나 아니 녀버도 되네 개와사고 아니 데바텔 디기 무슨 사고지 고도 셈기 가와 이거도 서도 내가 디 매개를 껴야 되나 요야 요 말바 yu meban devo yung marwa dini indi tene diki pusung sabashi kuwe na ngaranzo gi sandela tene led sabu.
And the second line of this popular quote is practice, cultivate virtue fully, which means you should cultivate or generate or accumulate merits or positive things fully. When we talk about these stanza, if we try to understand this second line second line, then it is to be understood in terms of the cause and result. Because of the cost, the result is there. If when we talk about success of life, success of business, and success of in terms of a student and examination and so forth, it's because of the good cause that we have accumulated. Without the cause, nothing can be happened. So therefore, we should believe that the result is there because of the cause that we had accumulated in our previous lives or this life as well. So therefore, to have ideal happiness, the cause has to be there. The virtue or the positive virtue has to be accumulated. So therefore, the understanding of the cause and result is very important. So therefore, without any cause and condition, nothing can be happened. This is the meaning of the second line of the popular quotation, popular quote.
Tene ngaso monguchi tene legunde jisetu 타른 부지 삼던 거. 다 상가마다 치매기 계시되게 요와. 근데 지기 토네 tene 당 아세들라 가르치는 치마 가르치는 가시 세치마 예지 매제데 다 이게 선대를 간주 먼저 가르쳤나 되네. 기디글럼 디발라 맨즈마 간주 먼저 제 세치마 가르쳤나 제 삼개들이 가지고 요와. ane di marikbe samlosi marikbe yingwa kimza gasan di chasang tondu go yamare bena ngala zo zizi mikda bo chi sosun dyunje tes ma do tondu go yamara di thola dingu kaba ji de sung mo kinde so rasna le nyong se ya de sangaji do tyo ko ya ma yin so chen di ni le tongju zo jung so chen di ran le tu yus the gongjig na la peshana no penna ene tsengama le khoria de pena khangbe kawa dinde jil kor ko ya ga thusu ji go gi yena thu ting sa ne jama ga ji jama sa ka jama ga jil kor ge diga su go ko go yo des kais the thu ning ma di le gi di kharis ni nyurwa da a dinde yim ba da chen ning ma dinde yin du chen de ni lo tong ju zo yin sa chima la ta go ma de sa tan da na la de ne tombeis 나라서 심죽 마셔야 봐도 심죽 제다 선디날 매개와 신예도서 숙청부 신예도서 선디니랑 통통요 맞아 딱제셔나 통통거죠.
And when we talk about the result of the virtues and non-virtues or negative actions and positive actions, and there are some confusions in some people's mind because they think that the result has only to be experienced in next lives to come. However, that is not the thing. Result has also be experienced in this very lifetime. When we have this kind of confusion in our mind, that is called ignorance. And we are completely ignorant if we have this kind of understanding. And we can only think of this life. That is not the case in this context. If we only see this kind of things, then it is kind of having a kind of very limited understanding of the cause and result. In this context, Lord Jigten Samgon in Gongsik says that the result of the any kind of deeds can primarily be experienced on this lifetime. So therefore, one should not have this kind of confusion in their mind. There's an example of experiencing the result of the negative thoughts and action that in terms of the time in old days, in the ancient times, the times to experience the negative experience takes as about time of taking a round of a pillar, and now it takes only a time, that limited time of taking a round of a grass bed, which means that now in this degenerate time, it takes only a short span of time to experience the both negative and positive thoughts and actions.
Baruch Desha.